watching that guy on YouTube who likes Ironheart, Riri Williams. I'm going through this Marvel previews of what books to get in 3 months when they start selling them in July. And there's a lot of books I'm not getting. It got me thinking, okay, maybe I should do a video on this. Because as of right now, there are 6 titles that I'm going to be picking up from Marvel coming up. Maybe it would have been 7, but Thunderbolts got moved and delayed, paper shortage, or whatever the reason is. But also, when you show me that Thunderbolt is able to be delayed, there's probably no urgency in what the story will be addressing, and there's probably nowhere there that it's heading. That the comic needs to come out immediately, so that by the time issue 5 happens, the next thing happening over on Daredevil can can start ignite can you know what I mean? If something can be delayed, then really wasn't urgent. That's what I'm trying to get at. And it's kind of my problem with Marvel. A lot of these things, these stories that they have, are just sort of, you do a story, you will hire you now to do a story, and we'll hire you to do a story. Do I read Independence? Do I read Image or Dark Horse or some of those unattached universes? No, I read Marvel. If something happens between Gambit and Rogue, I want to see how that affects the Fantastic Four, because it's all one world. And we have editors and we have the technology. How many group chats or Slack, which is something that Jonathan Hickman came up with, that communities, they could have a Marvel Discord, they could have a Marvel, like, create their own version of something. Excel spreadsheet that maybe can have each character and say where the character is going to be in this month, so that, oh, I can't do anything with Doctor Doom, Dan Slott is busy using him. Oh, well, how about if I tried using Spider-Man? Actually, no, Spider-Man's being used already by these 2 guys, and we don't want to oversaturate Spider-Man, so because we don't want to be like DC, the Batman company. We don't want to do that. So, like, imagine if they had some sort of communication, taking advantage of its year 2022. Imagine if it had something like that, some sort of like self-governing program, like basically what the Niagara Falls is for electricity. Give me that. Just give me something. They don't have that. It doesn't feel like they are trying even. I don't feel like the events lead into one another, sort of the same way X-Men, the way that the Avengers disassembled happened, and it led into House of M, which led into the Messiah complex. I skipped one, which is the one where Hope is born and she's in Alaska, Hope Summers. That might be the Messiah complex. I may have not skipped one. And that led into the Second Coming, and that led into all that. Remember how everything led to one another? When Vulcan was introduced in that Deadly Genesis story, it led into like something that led into War of Kings. Remember that? Remember how, like, the rise and fall of the Shi'ar Empire, like, there were a lot of stories that led into each other and events led into each other. King of Black had nothing to do with Empire. Those were like back to back. Iron Man 2020 wasn't anything. Who's talking about that now? It happened. It stopped. It doesn't matter. It just feels like these are little stories in their vacuums. And maybe if you're lucky, a guy like Hickman will reference what Mike Carey was writing about. If you're lucky, it should be done that way. It doesn't happen often enough, and it's losing me. Another thing that they lose me on is the diversity efforts, because it's kind of pathetic. I'm reading this and they're saying that Captain America is going to have his own solo book called Liberty of Wings. The artist there is Carmen Carnero. Interesting. You know how that whenever we got these diverse characters who are not white, the creators who get to be on them are from the background that that character is from, right? Because you gotta give them opportunity and that kind of stuff. Mike from Rogue Comics was talking to me about this in a comment. What about Carmen Carnero doing Captain America, Steve Rogers? Oh, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter anymore when it comes to big characters, does it? No, it's just Carmen Carnero. She just transcends that color barrier bullshit, the ethnicity barrier that they got. See, I don't see Pepe Larraz doing the artwork for that Reptile comic book. Remember that 4-part limited series from last year? They didn't use Paco Medina to do that one. They got some unknown. They don't do that for the small characters. Um, there's a level. Javier Garon is writing, drawing the Avengers comic book. He's the artist there, Javier Garon. That's Spanish to me. Unless it's Javier, and he's from like Boston. But that man is doing the Avengers. Why? Because his artwork is good. It didn't matter where he's from. Let's do that. Let's get Ms. Marvel with a quality writer, possibly from their top five. You know the top five: Hal Ewing, Donny Cates, Chip Zdarsky. Let's say Jonathan Hickman, even though he's kind of like a toe in, a toe out, and Jason Aaron. That's your top five right there. Of course, that's subjective, but definitely those guys are in the top 10. Let's get a top 10 writer doing Ms. Marvel. Please and thank you. I don't need Jody Hauser doing it. That's not hate on Jody Hauser. That's just recognizing Jody Hauser is not a top 10. Marvel doesn't want my money. like the way that they do these things that don't really lead into each other are whack. Death, what couldn't be said about Death? Max Landis, go watch his channel Up to My Knees. When the death of Superman happened, it killed Death. That's what happened. It didn't kill Superman. Death is like, oh, I guess that character's dead right now. Go read any Batman comic book and wondering like, what is Alfred still dead? Yeah, he'll be back. We know how this thing goes. People are dead and then they're back alive again. It's very tiresome actually, and it loses its stake because what's more significant than death? Like if your life ends and you ceased existing. Marvel comics seem to make me, in some comic books, want to be worried that this character is about to die, and I'm just rolling my eyes because every time a character has died, sometimes that very character himself or herself has already resurrected. So like, what am I supposed to be afraid of? That Peter Parker is gonna die? You guys did that in 2013, didn't you? Maybe even did that prior. I don't even know of, but we've seen it happen with the Wolverine and with all of them. Be creative. Make the character go away. Make the character get sick. Make the character have to choose to put the powers away. Make the character anything to if you want to remove him. But don't tell me death of Doctor Strange. He's dead. Don't do that. I didn't even believe it. I didn't even buy it. If I really believed that Doctor Strange was gonna die and that was it for him, I would have purchased those comic books as like a this is a good buy. Wow. First comic book I ever bought was 700 of Amazing Spider-Man because well, I didn't know anything at the time. I wasn't a comic fan, and it was the first comic book I bought, and it was like years before the next comic book that I bought. But I just like, oh, this seems significant. Spider-Man seems to be dead. I saw a tweet about this. Go to a comic shop, pick it up. And that's what I did because I believed it. And if I believe, I will buy. You can make me believe. You can Marvel Comics with your different outlets bring me in and make me believe something's happening. Like what you did with Free Comic Book Day. You got me. After this thing, Avengers versus X-Men versus Eternals, Chillmonger's on board. Let me get the focus back on. It's not really focused on my face. I effed up by bringing the camera the thing all the way up there. Anyways, the comic book here that I read got me interested, even though I am very disinterested in what the X Men are up to and how it's inconsequential and it's just isolated stories with a bunch of writers. And I had the tweet from Jonathan Hickman around the time that Children of the Atom was announced. He goes, "We don't even expect all you fans to read everything." And then I got further follow up podcast interviews since Inferno has ended, confirming a lot of things that I already knew, but I'm not interested in the X Men. This made me interested in the Avengers versus the X Men and the Eternals. It feels like this is big. Of course, there will be no follow up to this event. I don't expect it to be follow. I'd be surprised if there was follow up to this event. If this was going and leading towards a hey, what about the Inhumans? And now the Eternals are going to fight the Inhumans. I would be surprised if something came after this like it's planned. Like, do you really, guys? If someone from Marvel is watching this, person who watches this, who's at Marvel, I don't think that at that last summit you had where you talked about this events, Judgment Day, I don't think you guys said, and then after that, what we're gonna do is yada 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 6 issues written by Kieran Gillen. I don't think that you did that at all. Please make me wrong. Prove me wrong. Make me an idiot. I would like very much for that to happen. I'd like to be proven wrong because it would mean that good comic book stuff is coming. Okay. You know who I am, Chillmonger. Go check out 33 Burning Star Wars Questions right over here. It was a lot of fun doing this with Sheev the Wise, with Star Wars Obsession, and Hawks Holocron, Lavis, and Freddie Roy. From the main authority, of course, the MVP, SSJK. Sanctum.